Welcome to the Piece by Piece Autism Podcast with your hosts, Angie and Christi. They've worked 25 years to help Alec get the most out of life. Let them tell you how they're doing it.
Hello and welcome back to Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. We are excited as we get to start a new series discussing and kind of reminiscing the past with Alec's siblings. Siblings play such an important role in families with autistic kids, and their take and perspective is new and different. And today we're going to talk with Alec's brother, Todd Jensen.
Todd Jensen is in the house today. He's Alec's older brother, and he's here to talk about his experiences growing up with Al for 28 years. He graduated from BYU in accounting, left there a single guy. He would like a refund. So he works in finance now, and he loves the outdoors, anything having to do with outdoors. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank y'all so much for having me. I've been waiting for this invitation for a long time, and I'm finally glad that I have graciously earned the honor of being on the show.
And the first sibling. Well, so hey.
And the first sibling, the best looking sibling, the smartest sibling, other than Alec, of course. But
Wow.
but Angie and Christi, Mom, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We really appreciate this. We know that Alec has been like a big deal in our family, and you have been a big brother to him in so many ways, and we really appreciate that. That leads us into our very first question. What would you say that you are the most proud of in regards to Alec?
Alec has a lot of very great qualities, and as an autistic man, we're also aware that he maybe has some qualities that we want to work on a little bit, which is kind of why this podcast exists, is to help those with autism bring out the best in them and grow their great qualities. Alec's greatest quality, though, if I have to pin it down to one, well, what am I most proud of? I have to pin it down to one, is Alec is really resilient. So I was on Instagram a few months ago, and I saw this meme that said, "Those people who enjoy salt and vinegar chips are of the sturdiest of breeds."
It's not me.
I for one cannot stand salt and vinegar chips, which I think is an ode to the fact that I am neither resilient or sturdy. If there is one person on this earth who loves salt and vinegar chips, it's Alexander Kent Jensen. And it proves, that's just an anecdote to prove to you that Alec is so resilient and so sturdy. Alec has had so many things in life thrown at him, epilepsy, autism, of course, which is why we're here to speak. But Alec gets up every day with a pretty freaking good attitude and is always willing to learn and always willing to work hard. And Alec has had, as do all autistic people, he has had all the reasons in the world to be upset about life and to want to get up and have a crappy attitude every day.
Yeah.
And despite all of these things that life's thrown at him, he still gets up every day with a smile on his face, goes about his day, works hard, builds relationships. And that's really what I'm most proud about.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, wow. That's a great answer. I love that. That is really, and salt and vinegar chips. That's anytime you can bring in salt and vinegar chips into a conversation. I mean, that is true, though. He's always loved those since he was a little bitty kid.
I hate the smell of them, but anything.
I love the blue package.
All right, Todd, how is love different with Alec?
So love is interesting because what you always hear about, and as Christi alluded to at the beginning of this episode, I made it through BYU without getting married. BYU can keep the money. I don't want a refund. I had a full ride almost the whole time anyway, so there's not much to refund.
Oh, flex.
A slight pat on the back to me. But I've noticed in my personal life, as I've gone on, as I've dated different women, a lot of times you go on a date and one of the first things you ask someone, this might not be a first date question, but certainly a second or a third date question, is what is your love language? And One thing I feel like I've always regretted with Alec is I don't know if I've necessarily taken the time to truly understand what his love language is. And I think I've painted Alec in this box as having his love language be quality time. And if I had it to do over again over these last 28 years, I think I would have definitely, and we'll touch on this later on maybe regrets or things we want to do in the future with Alec. But I've always, for some reason, painted Alec in this box as being someone who needs quality time. And that's how you show love to him. And that doesn't necessarily lend credence to your question of how is love different with Alec. That's more of how I have approached love with Alec.
Yeah.
Because I think autistic people and people with disabilities in general, I think a lot of times they fear or people are afraid to try to connect with them because they're different. They go about, you see them, out in public and they might not seem approachable. But I've always felt that quality time is something that I think Alec appreciates because for others, it might feel hard for them to want to spend time with someone who's different.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you feel that strong connection to him? How have you built that connection with him over the years?
I think I've built that connection with him by always being someone that he can lean on and trust, whether it's helping him go to the bathroom, helping
manscaping him.
I was not going to mention now that Christi brought it up, I will go there. I believe Alec trusts very few people with manscaping him, and I have always done an amazing job. I'm what you might call an arborist of sorts. So if my career in finance doesn't work out, I think there's a couple botany companies here in Dallas that would happily take me on. But Alec has really, I'm pretty certain Alec trusts me quite a bit. I try to communicate heavily when I'm with him. I'm around Alec a lot. I live in Utah half the year and I live in Texas half the year. When I am in Utah and not in Texas, I make it a point to go by his house at least once a day, even if it's just for a couple minutes. And I think that consistency has proved to Alec that I am deserving, and I hate the word deserve. I've someone who has earned his trust.
Yeah, I agree.
I definitely agree. I think those pop-ins and the consistency, it speaks volumes to him.
Yeah. What would you say was your biggest concern for Alec as he was growing up and as you were growing up?
The biggest concern, and I think you're going to get this same exact answer from anybody with a relative who's autistic, is knowing that he's going to have long-term care. Because what I've noticed is I've grown up, I'm 30 years old now. When I was a kid and preteen, early teens, I was so focused, just naturally you do this as a kid. I was so focused on the here and now. And I could maybe forecast or envision what the next week looks like, but I could envision what the next 5 years or 10 years. I mean, when I was 16 years old, I think all I really cared about is what I was going to have for lunch that day and wasn't really thinking much about what my life looked like 20 years down the road. And now that I'm 30, I mean, heck, right before we jumped on this podcast, I was looking at, my stock portfolio and seeing how that looks. And I'm trying to plan for retirement, and retirement's still so far down the road. But this all circles back to answer your question, that my biggest concern when Alec was growing up and as we were growing up is how are we going to care for him when Christi's not around, when my father Mark's not around. And that has been answered pretty well as we've built this program around him in Utah and surrounded him with teammates that care for him so much and are really bought into the process of helping him grow and assimilate into a normal society. Because if we can't help him grow and assimilate, then kind of what are we all here for?
For me, whenever we got the house in Utah established and we got some team members there who we really trust and who seem like long-term will be able to be perpetually there, that caused me to have a lot of relief. And I think maybe it's the same for you, Todd, because in the beginning we weren't sure, like, is this going to work or not? And now it's feeling really comfortable to me,
Mm-hmm.
in hopes that he can have a great life there. Um, I'm curious, Todd, did you ever feel any sibling guilt, which I think is a common thing for siblings of an autistic person? And how, if you did feel sibling guilt, how did you handle it?
Okay, I 100% felt sibling guilt as early as fourth grade. That's when I was in fourth grade, I would have been what, 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
That's when I
Yeah.
really started to feel sibling guilt with Alec as I would go out with friends. Things transfer into middle school and high school. You have homecoming, prom, winter formal. I'm getting ready for those. I have a date with a cute girl. And in all of that, I always felt sibling guilt as I left behind Alec because I knew that those were opportunities, traditional opportunities that a young man in the United States grows up getting to participate in. But in all of that sibling guilt, once I hit my early 20s, I realized something. It reminds me of whenever you hop on a plane, you get on a plane and they go through the same rote safety protocol things that they always say, your life vest is under your chair. And one thing that always stuck out to me from those safety demonstrations on a plane was, in the event that the cabin loses pressure, please apply your own oxygen mask before helping those around you, like little children. So, how does that relate to sibling guilt? I realized in my 20s, so this would have been 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, that I need to have a healthy lifestyle socially with my family, physically, emotionally. Otherwise, I'm not going to be the best caregiver I can be for Alec. And so
Oh,
I have to compartmentalize my life and say it's really important that I have strong relationships beyond just that with Alec. Because if I'm not taking care of myself physically and emotionally and spiritually, how am I going to help take care of Alec? And it was when I started framing my mind into understanding that it's okay to be selfish at times and want to do all these great things for yourself, because when you're building yourself up, a rising tide floats all ships. And
yeah.
as my ship
Great.
floats, I want to bring Alec's ship up with it.
Yeah, for
Oh, I
sure.
love that. That's great.
I think also on the contrary, there can be opportunities or things that Alec got to do or attention that Alec got that you as a sibling maybe didn't. Alec didn't have to go to school every day and deal with homework or,
Absolutely.
all of that. And so I think while there's guilt, there can also be a sense of maybe jealousy. Did you ever have any of those feelings?
Angie, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. It was not 2 days ago. I was sitting with my mother picking up a Diet Coke from McDonald's in the drive-through, and my mom said to me, Christy said to me, "Do you miss high school? Did you have a good time in high school?" And without pause, without even a split second, I said, "Oh, I did not miss that at all. That was terrible. Kids are just mean. Kids are hateful." And high school and middle school, lower school, it's hard for a lot of kids to find their place and to feel wanted and to feel like they have a strong friend group. And I hate to make that, I'm trying my best not to make this about me, but that was something I struggled with. We moved around a lot as we were growing up, and I don't know that I ever felt like I had this super strong core group of friends. And so in a lot of ways, like you mentioned, I was jealous of Alec. He didn't have to move schools a lot and have to make new friends and worry about, making sure the cute girl asked him to Sadie Hawkins dance. That Alec avoided all of that.
Yeah.
And as we've wanted Alec to experience the outside world so much, there is something so blissful and amazing about the level of innocence he carries with him, even at 28 years old,
Yes.
because he hasn't had to be exposed to all these external forces in the world that are just so freaking cruel and disgusting and hateful.
Okay, Todd, now stop that. Your high school looked so cool from the outside looking in. I always thought, oh my goodness, he's got this idyllic high school situation. He can go fishing out in the quarry during lunch, and he's got these friends that he can go do this and that with, and he's been able to play on all the different sports teams, and he was the goalie for the soccer team. And I always thought, oh, he's got this ideal. So you're really bursting my bubble.
Sorry, Mom. Thank you for funding all those activities, though it doesn't go unnoticed.
That leads us to our next question, though. Really, it segues perfectly. I felt like, as a mom observing you as a child, I felt like you went through the kind of like maybe an abbreviated stages of grief as it relates to Alec. And I think that maybe your perception was different than that before I kind of pointed it out as kind of the stages of grief, kind of the denial, kind of feeling angry. It seemed like for a while you went through this period where you were just kind of angry with Alec, and not in a way that you necessarily displayed that to him. I mean, I don't want it to sound like you were cruel or anything to him, because you were not at all. But how do you think that your relationship with him has evolved from that kind of viewpoint?
So the end game is our relationship is great, but to back it up, the stages of grief, that's human nature. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're a relative, an autistic person, or a mother or father of an autistic person, stages of grief are normal. I've gone through stages of grief in my life. That's a normal human emotion. And let it play out, and don't beat yourself up about it. Mm-hmm. And what's the last stage of grief? Acceptance. You're ultimately going to accept it. Life is going to go on. Time stops for nobody. So allow yourself to go through and have emotion. And it's hard for, I'm a 30-year-old male, and it's so hard for 30-year-old males, although I think lately it's getting a lot more common. It's really hard for us to accept that we can have emotion and we can have sadness and depression, and that it's okay to struggle with things. I remember during the COVID times, I don't know if we can talk about that. One of our neighbors had a yard sign that said, "It's okay to not be okay." I think that's partially true. It's okay to go through periods of not being okay, but at some point you have to act and work to be okay again.
Yeah.
And part of the 5 stages of grief is not being okay as you go through denial and anger and depression, but you're going to come out on the other end and accept it. And that took me a while with Alec, but I'm there and I feel more comfortable than I ever have been. And I promise for those listening that the grass is going to be greener where you water it and not necessarily on the other side. And that's part of why this podcast exists, is to make you realize there's a lot of grass to water, and we're going to give you the resources or the water to help grow that grass and make it green and flourish.
Oh, I love that answer.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you ever feel like punching him in the face? Like, do you ever get frustrated with Alec? He can be a little bit frustrating at times, but like growing up with them, have you ever just wanted to say, "Are you for real?" Because I know I have.
Yeah, we've all
thought those things.
All had a bit of that. Autistic or not, kids are kids and come with their own personalities, right?
Right.
Yes. So
and their own behaviors.
Yes, as a sibling.
I think Angie and Christi, you two as both mothers of 4, have had plenty of opportunity. There's been no shortage of opportunities for y'all to feel frustrated at your children.
Yes.
The frustration I have felt towards siblings and others probably pales in comparison to everything y'all have gone through in your lives. I have at many times felt frustrated with Alec, but I have to take a step back and remind myself that if I want to get frustrated with Alec, I think the old parable is he who, what's the parable?
Who cast the first stone?
Yeah.
That one?
If you're not a sinner, cast the first stone. I'm totally butchering this. I apologize. I promise I've read the Bible. Um, but taking a step
Are you
back,
sure?
who am I to judge and be frustrated because I know I have caused frustration in my life in so many ways to so many people. And that's part of being human. We've all caused frustration for others. So anytime I get frustrated with him, I have to remind myself that, like, dang, Todd can be a really frustrating guy to be around sometimes. My coworkers will tell you that. I'm sure my family members will tell you that. And when I frame it like that, like, hey, we can all be frustrating to be around, it makes dealing with Alec in the frustrating times so much more tolerable.
Yeah. Well, that's nice of you to have that self-awareness.
And
People who don't have that self-awareness actually are more frustrating to be around. But
Angie, and one thing I pride myself on, and again, I'm not trying to make this podcast about myself, but I feel like I've always been a pretty self-aware person.
yeah.
Maybe hyper self-aware. And I think as I've strived to be more self-aware and focus on how my actions affect other people, it's done nothing but help me take care of Alec better.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, speaking of kids, is it a fear of yours that you one day may have an autistic child? Has that been a thought?
The thought of course has crossed my mind, Angie. I was in a relationship in the past, and the woman who I was talking to we were talking in the direction of, potentially getting married. And she asked me if I would take, I guess is there some sort of test you can take? My understanding.
Like genetic testing?
Yes, it was some sort of genetic testing where I guess I don't know how they test that, but she asked me if I would take some test, and it became a source of contention with us. And I told her I politely declined to take any sort of genetic testing to see if I'm predisposed to having an autistic child, because that doesn't change the fact that I want to have children one day. And fearing about whether or not I'm going to have an autistic child, that's not going to change my opinion. I think the nuclear family unit is an absolutely beautiful thing. That's really the foundation of society. And if everything, nobody's gonna, first off, nobody's gonna care for you more than yourself. And who's probably second in line to care about you the most? Your immediate family. Whatever the news tells you about any organization, whether it be political, nonprofit, business, certainly not, they're not going to care for you as much as you care for yourself, or as much as your family cares for yourself. So that's really important to me, to have a family one day. And I'm not going to let some slim chance that I may have an autistic child stop me from pursuing that dream. And let's say I do have an autistic child. I have grown up with two of the strongest women I know who have showed me the path on how to handle that correctly and give that child the best care they could possibly ever receive. And I'm currently on a podcast with those two women right now.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you
That's
so
so
much.
nice.
Do you think having an autistic child in a family is the worst thing for the family?
Absolutely not. I think having an autistic child, every kid comes with their own difficulties to deal with. Whether it be, you could have a child who's dyslexic, you could have a child who misbehaves a lot or has, severe ADHD. Having an autistic child in our family has taught me patience and compassion beyond anything. There is no other life experience I could have gone through up to this point that would have given me the degree of compassion and patience and empathy than what I've experienced by having Alec as a little brother. And I'm very
Absolutely.
thankful for that.
I agree. I feel sad for anyone who does not see the blessing that a child with autism brings to a family. They're just such special people, and they have so much to give. And I am grateful for Alec in our home and for what he's done to our family structure. So,
And I want to piggyback on that a little bit. There's an old expression. I don't think this specific quote is biblical. I don't know if we're allowed to get biblical on this podcast or if that's okay. I know that we have listeners of all faiths and creeds and kindreds and tongues.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think a universal truth that we can all agree on is that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. And it's important to me in life to be a strong warrior in whatever you do, whether it be a business transaction, personal life, everything across the board. I want to be known as a strong warrior. Alec has been a tough battle, and that's not, we don't sugarcoat that or hide that fact as you listen to this podcast. And I want to be a strong warrior. I know I'm a strong warrior, and we've been given a tough battle. Teaching Alec, having him grow is a tough battle, but it lends credence to the fact that you too can be a strong warrior if you go through the steps to raise an autistic child well and work every day. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. And when, I hope at my eulogy that people will say that I was a strong warrior and I fought every day.
And you have. You truly have. Speaking of having Alec in our family, we had a lot of people coming in and out of our house, revolving door, since Alec was 2.5 years old. We had some breaks from that, but not many. How was that for you? I mean, it's pretty much all you knew for most of your life, but how was that, having teams of people coming in and just walking into our house and caring for him through the years that we did ABA home therapy?
Absolutely. So one of the greatest things that has happened in my life, among many, first off, the first great thing that happened is I was born into a family that is so amazing. And I know that's the luck of the draw, right? I have Christi as my mother, greatest mother ever. Angie, I'm not disparaging. I know Angie's the greatest mother ever as well. But we've had since Alec was 2 or 3 years old, we've had a lot of people come into the house that are different therapists, different consultants, and I loved that so much for Alec because he was given the best opportunities, given the best training money could buy. But it taught me so much in my own life because I feel like it's made me such a good neighbor, such a compassionate person. I'll share a quick anecdote with you. This past week I went to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and it was what we call the Holy War. So every year, Brigham Young University and University of Utah have a rivalry football game. And one of my business partners, him and I do a couple of deals together. He flew up to Provo, Utah for the game, and I insisted that he stay at our house. And he texted me after he left. We showed him a good time for the weekend, and he just thanked me profusely for our hospitality and that we opened up our home and we insisted that he treat our home like his own. And I always want to be a beacon of safety for anyone to feel like they can come to me and stay with me and that my home is their home. And by having so many people come in and out over the years to work with Alec, that's really helped me understand what it is to be a hospitable person, and it's shown. And that
Nice.
is your reputation is one of the few things that you carry along with you that is so hard to build up, yet so easy to destroy at the same time. And I think it's helped me build up a reputation as being someone that people can lean on and trust and feel comfortable around. And so I really thank Alec. I give Alec and his team all the praise for helping me grow up and turning me into that adult that can always be someone that people see as a beacon of comfort and kindness and openness.
Well, that's an interesting take on that. Thank you. That's really cool.
In all of Alec's therapies and things that you saw him do from a young age, obviously Alec being nonverbal and working towards getting verbal language, did you ever hold out hope that he would speak?
Angie, I think everyone I know who is close to Alec has at some point admitted that when they were one-on-one with Alec, they looked over at him and said, Can you talk and you're just not talking right now?
Oh,
Like,
oh no.
like, dude, just say something. Like, it's just us two. You could tell me. It's sort of like
Yeah,
in Toy
yeah.
Story. In Toy Story, when Andy's not in his room, Woody and Buzz start talking. I wanted to be like, dude, Andy's not in the room. You can talk to me, Buzz. Let's do it.
Oh.
Alec did not respond back. just
Aw.
to clear the air. But
Aw.
I've always wished Alec could talk, but I am so grateful that he can tap on a keyboard. And really, I'm grateful for that. So I believe it would be short-sighted for me to be upset that he can't talk when I should really just be grateful for the fact that he can communicate on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you think that was strange growing up when you had this brother that just never said anything? I know that Nana always thought that he spoke, but I never heard him. I never heard him speak.
Mom, Nana thought a lot of things.
We love
Nana.
We love Nana. May
we love
she rest
Nana.
in peace.
May she rest in peace. God help her soul. Nana was a great woman and was very crucial and a critical part of Alec's upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a child, what I struggled more with was not understanding, not so much the fact that Alec couldn't talk. It was I feared he didn't understand us.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite TV shows, well, it's more of a TV series, is it's Band of Brothers, which is a World War II kind of quasi documentary docuseries about the men who fought in Western Europe during World War II. And there was an army medic in that show. And keep in mind, Band of Brothers is based off of a real battalion during World War II. And there was an army medic in there that said, "I seek to understand, then to be understood." I think growing up with Alec not being able to talk, I needed to take a step back and seek to understand him and then be understood. And I think that was hard to do because he couldn't talk. But now it's all come together through his keyboard typing. And I feel like I do understand him. And now I feel like that I took the time to understand him. I am understood by him, which makes our relationship so strong now.
Yeah, that yin and yang.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like his personality shows through with the keyboard?
I don't think I have ever met an autistic person that didn't have an extremely vibrant and unique personality. They're like each one of them. You always hear the expression of people say, when God made you, he broke the mold. I think when God made each autistic kid, he didn't just break the mold. He took a freaking sledgehammer to that thing.
Well, I'm thinking of a couple of your favorite autistic guys. I'm thinking of Bill, who was Alec's roommate.
Bill most certainly has a vibrant personality.
You love Bill with his all his different foibles, and then Zach, the Z-Man. And then I'm thinking of
he was awesome.
And you just saw Dylan at their wedding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dylan just texted me last night. We love Dylan. Shout out Dylan.
Oh my goodness. Dylan texts you. That's so cute. Dylan is a friend of Alec's. How old is Dylan? About 20? Is he even 20 yet? Maybe 19.
He's got to be 19 or 20, going on 50. As he sent, going on about 90. He loves to text me pictures of old classic people in black and white photos who I don't even know. I think Frank Sinatra made it in there once or twice. But to go back to your original question, Alec's personality 100% shows through his typing. Alec can be very sarcastic, which sarcasm and dry humor is indicative of someone of high IQ. Which it's so ironic too, because so many autistic people, I can think of many autistic people don't understand sarcasm for the most part, has been my experience. And I hate to paint autistic people in a broad brush. That's been my experience. Your mileage may vary. Alec can dish out sarcasm better than anybody.
Yes.
Even and the fact he can make it show through typing on a keyboard is insane, because sarcasm usually has some cadence to it in your voice. Alec can
Right.
dish out sarcasm. I have yet to meet an autistic person who can accept sarcasm back and understand that sarcasm is being handed to them. So it's kind of a funny dynamic with Alec. I don't know if I've taken the time, and I definitely need to try to dish the sarcasm back and see how he takes it.
We've dished it to him a few
Oh,
times.
we've dished it. We've dished it. Oh, trust me, anytime we can.
Yeah.
Going to a little bit more serious situation that we want to cover before we're done here. We had that first really intense, we've had some intense situations with Alec, as we covered on the podcast before. He had elopement issues. He almost drowned in the pool. That was
absolutely
awful. I still can't even hardly think about it. And then that very first seizure that you were luckily there for, because you were a very big supporting role in that. Can you describe that a little bit and how you experienced that?
Yes, let me set the stage for that, Christy. Anybody listening to this podcast that went to school in the United States, K through 12, at some point had to read the book Life of Pi. I can almost guarantee it. And if you didn't read Life of Pi, you probably were assigned to read it and you said, screw it, I don't care. I'm going to look at the Spark Notes online.
Spark Notes.
I like many others. Miss Rameau, my 8th grade English teacher, if you're listening, please plug your ears now. I think I just looked at the Spark Notes. But it was late one night, and Life of Pi had just come out on movie, or out on, would you have even said DVD at the time? Did we have,
Netflix?
Did Netflix? I was watching Life of Pi somehow upstairs.
You had gone to Blockbuster Video.
Blockbuster, yes. Yes. And I was upstairs at y'all's house, and I was watching Life of Pi, and it was late one night, and I all of a sudden heard screaming. And anyone knowing the premise of Life of Pi, that movie does not require screaming of any kind. It's sort of secluded out on a boat out in the Indian Ocean. And I hear screaming, and it persists and it persists and it persists. And I start to think, I don't remember this part of the plot from when I read it for Spark Notes in 8th grade English class. And I open up my door and I hear Christi screaming downstairs. And I go downstairs and Alec is seizing up and he's turning purple. And it was quite a traumatizing experience. But it's traumatizing experiences through life that often shape us. We don't wish traumatizing experiences upon anybody. But in the aftermath of a traumatizing experience, you realize a lot of life lessons can be learned from it. And my mom just went into full mother mode. And isn't that the great thing about moms? They want what's best for us. And she was doing everything she could to help Alec, as I'm sure my mom was fearing that Alec's life was in danger. And my dad ran into the room and called 911. And Christi was screaming so loud and was so irate about the whole situation that the 911 operator could not understand what my dad was saying, or saying, okay, where's the emergency?
Oh, no.
And my dad finally puts down the phone for a second and says, Christi, will you shut up? And I distinctly remember it. And we got Alec on his side. He turned purple. He eventually came to. The first responders showed up expeditiously and were able to take care of the situation. I am eternally grateful for first responders everywhere. I don't think they get the respect they deserve at all. And I'm eternally grateful for them. And to this day, I never finished the Life of Pi movie, and I have no intention to ever watch it because I have. Well, there's trauma associated with it. Like if you ever,
sure.
Angie and Christi, I'm sure maybe you dated a guy in high school or in college, and there was maybe your song that you both listened to.
Yeah.
And now just the thought of that song or hearing it come on the radio sends chills up your spine. That's kind of how Life of Pi, the movie, is for me.
Always on my mind by Willie Nelson. I always think of this one guy.
Yep.
Oh, no. Todd, had you seen a seizure or been around anybody else with a seizure before? Or was that like you had no idea what was
I
going
had
on?
no idea what was going on. And I, at this point, looking back, I am so grateful that the seizure happened where it did, because it happened in such a controlled environment in our kitchen.
Yeah.
Our household at the time was very close to a fire station. And, firefighters show up first if the EMS doesn't get there first. And sometimes EMS and firefighters share a building. So they were able to get there so promptly. And I now am grateful for the experience, because now I know how to react. And through that, I've been able to learn proper seizure protocol. So even if I were ever on a plane or anywhere else, I could help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are scary. Especially, I mean, Christi, I remember you calling me after that first one. You were bustling around the house. The EMTs were there, and I don't know what I can do for you
Yeah.
from this place, but I will be at the hospital,
I just needed to tell you, I think. I just needed to tell you, because I was just like, oh my gosh, who would need to hear this, or who would be supportive of what's just happened. And it was just such a shocking thing. So
yeah, you just go into fight or flight mode too. But
yeah.
Any other thoughts before our last question, Todd?
I do have one thought. I'm just so grateful y'all put this podcast together to help give people hope for how they can better serve autistic people in their lives, because autism's not going anywhere. And you can either bury your head in the sand and be in denial about it, or you can do something about it. Be a warrior, be a fighter. And y'all are warriors and fighters. You're two of the strongest women I know. And for those listening, I don't think there's two people better to listen to than Christi and Angie when it comes to understanding what you can do to better serve the autistic people you love in your life.
Thank you, Todd. We really appreciate that.
That's so kind.
Vote of confidence.
Well, as we kind of look to Alec's future, and obviously all that we're doing for him and his setup and structure of his life right now is for his future, what pressure, if any, do you feel for Alec's future?
Great question. I would be lying if I said I didn't feel any degree of pressure. To whom much is given, much is expected. I have been given many things in my life, and I'm not just speaking materially. I have many gifts, and this goes back to being hyper self-aware. I can handle finances well. I could be better at handling stress, but I handle it better than I think most. I been blessed financially quite a bit, and to whom much is given, much is expected. And a lot is expected of me to help Alec in his future, especially that, my parents are aging. My parents aren't in their 30s anymore, like whenever they had me. And I know that one day my time will come to be the one in charge of Alec. But along this whole journey throughout these 28 years, Angie, you and Christi and my father, Mark, as well as many others, more than I could ever name, have laid the groundwork to help Alec be totally successful to the end. And although I may feel pressure, I'm so confident that he's set up for success, and that we've laid this framework or this foundation to make him flourish even into his 60s, 70s, 80s, 90 years old. Mm-hmm. And so although I worry about the little day-to-day things, overall, the big picture is he is so set up for success that I can't let the little pressures of day-to-day get in the way of knowing that in the grand scheme of things, he's going to be all right. And that he has the best team around him. He's going to continue to have the best team around him. And all it takes is hope on our end, and then everything else will fall into place.
Thank you for that vote of confidence again. And we also want to bring up that Alec does have two other siblings who we will be hearing from. We chose to have the siblings have their own podcast. So we'll also be hoping to hear from Andrea Jensen, who is his oldest sister, and Morning Winterholler, who is his other sister. And they'll be able to give their take on how it has been to be a sibling of Alec.
Yeah. It's super fun to just hear different perspective. And I mean, like Todd's mentioned, you have your own path and your own perspectives and relationships, and how that's all evolved has been really interesting. So thanks so much, Todd, for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I will add Morning and Andrea are both great siblings. I'm a little bit partial to myself, though.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Well, we're glad that you came. Alec is lucky to have you as a brother, and I know he certainly loves when you pop in and are able to be there. You are in Utah often, and that's a blessing to him.
Thank you, Angie.
Fully speak for him on that.
Thank you. He's a big blessing to me as well. Thank y'all for having me.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Piece by Piece. Thanks for being a part of the conversation. If this episode made you think, laugh, or feel a little more seen, go ahead and follow the show. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. That's PIECE, Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. Until next time, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.